This is called Stargazers.
Yeah. Unlock my bedtime, lift my face up to the sky. Show me how to stare and gaff, teach me how to fly. The universe is mine to see, the stars are mine to hold. Give me a future full of hope, let my dreams be bold.
Thanks, Oliver. You can sit down. So my name's Dom Conlon, and yeah, I'm a space poet. And I'm here tonight because one book and one anthology later, I love space. And the reason I love space is because, and the reason I'm here, a children's poet talking to adults, is because I think when we look to space, we should always remember just how amazing it is. And we should feel like children. We shouldn't be ashamed of just how awestruck we should be. The fact that we can point a telescope at the darkest point of the sky that we think there's nothing there and find 10,000 galaxies with hundreds of millions of stars in each one is incredible. The fact that we can stand on a beach, even in this country, and feel the sun on our face, photons hitting us that have been taken tens of thousands of years from the core of the sun, and then 8.5 minutes jittering across the 93 million miles to get to us. It's amazing. It's incredible. And the fact that I can look at Oliver there, my son, and see something unique in the staggering mathematics of the universe, it makes me feel like a child. And I think, like children, we should be both kind of amazed at this and afraid of this. Just like children can be in awe of something that's so big and we feel so small, and yet at the same time we think, I can know it all. Because Oliver seems to think he knows it all the time. Oh. And that's what I'm here to say. So I'm going to read you some poems. And my first kind of experience of this, of writing poetry about space, because pretty much I write constantly for children. And I was sat and if you get the chance to go, in the Liverpool World Museum at the top, they've got the planetarium, and it's a fantastic place. And I was lucky enough to have a private show. And this Scouser, this real working class Scouser, stood and he just gave me a presentation, spinning the Earth around, spinning ISS around, the Moon, Mars, Jupiter. And then he came to Saturn and he was so enthusiastic about the planets and about what we were seeing. You couldn't help but be moved. And as a poet, even then, I was thinking, how can I explain? Oliver was about 5 years old at the time, he's 9 now. And I was looking back and I was thinking, how can I explain these kind of things, what I'm seeing in poetry, to somebody like my son? And that's when I started to think, all right. So I wrote this one called Saturn. The potter's wheel turns you in its wild dance and spins your rings through shadow fingers, and yet you stay forever clay. Just how Saturn appeared to me then. It was just this lump of clay constantly spinning and its own wheel. And then with children, when I go into schools to talk about space, you're trying to explain incredible concepts. I talk about how much energy output the sun has and working out the maths of it. You talk to children and you can give them huge numbers like 93 million miles and all these kinds of, and it's meaningless. So I talk about it in terms of Jaffa cakes, because Jaffa cakes are something we can all appreciate, I think. And it works out that you get 2 septillion Jaffa cakes every second in terms of calorie output of the sun. 2 septillion. And I get them all. I say, right, we need a 0, we need a 2. So one child comes up and he has a 2. And I get another one. We need a 0, we need a 0. I mean, do you think we need another 0? They go, yeah. What's the largest number you can think of? I go, a billion, a billion, 100 billion. That's big, that's big. So, right, we keep going and we keep going. And then 26 zeros later, and they're just seeing this, the entire class is suddenly at the front of the hall. And then they can appreciate just how many Jaffa cakes that they would have to eat every single second of the thing. So we talk about things like that. And poetry helps me explain things like that. I put that into poetry. And this one is called Infinity. Infinity is a big idea. It can be the biggest, the hardest, the longest, the everythingest kind of idea you'll ever fit inside your head. But here's how it works. Just close your eyes and think of someone you like. Then think about spending tomorrow with them. You'll laugh, you'll play, you'll learn something new, and then as the sun sets, you'll think, how nice it would be to do that again. Tomorrow, and tomorrow, again, and again, into infinity. And we start talking then about all the different kind of concepts of the universe, about how amazing it is and how big. Let's see if I can turn this page. With my shaking hands. And I say it can be used to ask questions. Poetry can be used to ask questions. I said, and one question, that as I was writing my book, Astra Poetica, as I was writing that, I started to think about moons. Because it's amazing, and we have this amazing moon of our own that's moving slightly further away. It'll get to a certain point. And children love to know that. And they also like to hear when you say, even though we've not got two moons, people always go Cruithne into the equation and say, well, there's another body that kind of comes along with us. And they go, oh, that's fantastic. And I said, but I think about moons. And I start to think, can a moon have a moon? And it turns out it can. And I find moons amazing. Saturn again, you got shadow moons, are they called? And it's going through the rings of Saturn. That kind of thing, and it's an amazing kind of thing. So I asked myself, could a moon have a moon? And it turns out they can. So I thought, right, we've got to write a poem about this, and it's got to be a silly poem, it's got to be a nonsense poem. So I said, is there really such thing as a moon with a moon? Or is it a thing like a noon before noon? And if a moon has a moon, then where does it end? Does the moon of a moon have a moon of a friend? And if each of these moons should meet once a while, would they smash into bits or miss by a mile? And one of the things about space as well is that I try and pin it down to how we live. What does it mean to us? All this vastness, this infinity. What does it mean to us? How does it change us as humans? How does it change the way we act towards other or see each other? And I think that's really important to think about. Because we've got all this power. We create nuclear power. We manage to split the atom. And what do we do with it? It's amazing and terrifying. Right at the beginning, I say, this ability of children to be both afraid of something but then undaunted by it. And we should be. We should balance those two things pretty carefully in our heads. And this one is called How Stars Die. She sits on the bench, feeding the birds late into the evening, with two coats, a scarf and a hat to keep her warm, as her shoulders sag and her bright eye dims, because this is how stars die. As her children's children shiver and look and think, how did we not notice for 1,000 years or more? And how cold we are without her, and how dark the house is now, because this is how stars are mourned. Until her winter garden blooms once more, a youthful rose of memories, blushing the sky and laying to rest the myth that age must weary, that rage must die, that stories must stop, that endings can't be beginnings, because this is how stars are born. And because it's Yuri's night, I want you to all think about Yuri Gagarin. Every time I've been talking to friends, I'm going to do Yuri's night up in Dumfries. And they say, Yuri who? I say, Yuri Geller. Not Yuri Geller, Yuri Gagarin. I said, I keep going to make that mistake. So I've managed not to make it. It's Yuri Gagarin. I'm going to bring a spoon with me. I'll try and bend it. Imagine how Yuri Gagarin must have felt hurtling. And this is a poem called The First Cosmonaut. I think we could all try and imagine ourselves as the first cosmonaut. Travel through life as though life is the cosmos, as though you are the first person to fly into its void, as though your outstretched arms are powered by the sun, as though your body is the mathematics of freedom, as though your fingers speak the only language there is, as though your eyes are newborn stars in a nebula, as though your heart can survive a supernova, as though each day is a new planet, as though each year is weightless, as though each moment is an atom, as though solitude is fuel, as though even if you land, you will always fly again. And I think how Yuri must have felt after he landed again. And he did always want to go back to space. And he didn't. I'll tell you a story in a minute about when he came to Manchester, where I'm from. And my mum saw him. Puts him in his place properly, I'll tell you. So I was asked a while ago to contribute to an anthology called Watcher of the Skies. This has got lots of different poets in it. And they're all from complete nonsense to some beautiful, heart-rending poems, a wonderful collection of poets in here. And I was really honoured to be asked to be one of them. And so the poem I wrote for that, I was asked to describe the properties of each planet in our solar system. And they said, but do it in a different way. Do it in a way that relates it to something here on Earth. So I began to think, how would planets talk? What language? And I've been reading a lot about appropriately, being in Scotland actually, even more appropriate if we're in Ireland, but how certainly the English, when they moved across and started colonising the world, how they changed names. And names are really, really important. The language we use is really important. We should never use our natural languages, ever, because it roots us to where we are. There's a place in the Lake District called Trepanna. It's pronounced Trepanna, but it's spelt Tor Pen How. And it means hill, hill, hill in different dialects. And it's an amazing word, Trepanna. Hill, hill, hill. And if we lost that, if we called it hill, it'd be dull. It wouldn't give us a history of a place. And it's an incredible thing. Language is an amazing thing. And you get that across to children, and they get it. Children are natural poets. And this one is called The Way Planets Talk. So I'm imagining each planet with a language of its own. What might we hear if we listened for the star-forged language the planets used when sound was new and words had no full stops? We might hear the distant vowels of Neptune, each word as long as life, each sun-abandoned syllable, the sound of a breathing whale. We might hear the soft lilt of Uranus with its dictionary of duck eggs plopped into blue flower, 1,000 definitions in a single air-thrown sigh. We might hear the singing voice of Saturn with its billion-letter alphabet scattered along a single groove, its voice recorded in a tantrum of sentences. We might hear the whirling words of Jupiter, where hello is the oil in an engine and I love you is the red echo of a candle flame dying at sunrise. We might once have even heard Mars utter its own name before the words dried on the tip of its burnt tongue, before a final first silence cry scratched the dust. We might hear Venus. Venus, who speaks in a dialect separated from our own only by a dream on a too warm night. And nestled between stone-faced silences, we might hear Mercury, wailing like a boiled baby each time the sun scrubs its face. If we listened, we might hear these planets and take the language from their molten cores and learn that distance is a comma, a pause in how we talk about tomorrow. Now, before I hand over to Hayden, I've got one final poem. And this one makes me think of my mum, seeing Yuri Gagarin in a car going into Manchester. And she was on a bus at the time, and she was coming back from work. She was travelling back to Timperley, just outside Manchester. And she told me this not so many years ago. I said, did you get off the bus and, go and see all these amazing people around Yuri Gagarin? Did you go and try and see him? She said, no. She said, I was going back to cook tea for my dad. I said, I'd had a full day at work. I didn't want to see a Russian astronaut. I couldn't quite understand it. But then I came to understand it because her priorities were different. And the fact that she saw it important to go home and cook dinner for her dad was pretty good. And it grounds us. And when I think about poetry, I think that's what it can do. It can ground us. It can make things applicable. It can show us why we do things. And this poem is called New Gold. And I read this for school children all over. And they understand it. Because I said it starts off with the Voyager probe in 1977. And now it's gone beyond the heliosphere, as far as we know. And it's an incredible thing, the furthest man-made object. And on it is the gold disc, facing inwards, not facing outwards, like all the Star Trek films show us. But it's an incredible thing that we've sent this gold disc out, hoping that somebody will learn about who we are. And I thought, back to my mum, going, well, yeah, there's Yuri Gagarin going into Manchester after his space flight. But to her priorities were different. And she understood what it meant to be a person. And I think the gold in that disc, the messages on that disc, what are we saying to aliens? And why aren't we saying it to each other? Why aren't we looking at this incredible world, this incredible museum that we're here today, which took our breath away as we came up the hill? Even through the trees, it took our breath away. It was a staggering sight. You appreciate every moment, every bit of sun that we get, every rain cloud even. And I started to think, this is the new gold. We need a message, we need a disc that's put on the side of the planet that tells us what's amazing about this planet and why we should look after it and why we should care for each other and why we should tolerate each other and get on with each other and find good things about each other. So this one's called New Gold. And I need Oliver to help me again. Can you put your iPad down? He's filming me, I think. It's like Minecraft to me, but that's... So this one's New Gold. So you're going to start with this and I'll carry on every other verse, okay?
I'm doing that bit.
Oh, right, okay, yeah, you're right, okay. Our message is not written in gold to be collected by aliens.
It is written in autumn leaves for children to scatter.
Our message is not written in gold to die in the cosmos.
It is written in honey for bees to be born.
Our message is not written in gold to be fought over by men.
It is written in daffodils for friends to make peace.
Our message is not written in gold to be seen by nobody.
It is written in the vocal cords for everyone to hear.
Our message is not written in gold to be aimed at by asteroids.
It is written in the sand for oceans to reach.
Our message is not written in gold to be lost in space.
It is written in candlelight for the lost to be found.
Our message is not written in gold to be forgotten by history.
It is written in rings to be remembered.
Our message is not written in gold to be swallowed by infinity.
It is written in summer rains for the thirsty to drink.
Our message is not written in gold for spaceships to carry.
It is written in the sunrise for life.
For life. For life. For life to carry on. And that's my poetry. So well.